Hello children, how are you? Hope good. This is Shab Khan and I'm back with my new video on my YouTube channel Urban Learning with ULY. This video got delayed even by my very poor standards of frequency of posting the videos, but I'll try to make up for it in the next 2-3 videos. So let's start. This being a very long video, I try not to waste much time. The dialogue between Brutus and Cassius continues. The lengthy but very important dialogue. The lengthy but very important dialogue between Brutus and Cassius continues, and we'll continue with it in this video also. And what we had just studied in the previous video, we had studied that Cassius persists in his efforts to influence Brutus, and Brutus starts revealing the conflict in his mind vis-a-vis his relationship with Caesar, his friendship with Caesar, and his concern for the honor and glory of Rome. We have studied this in detail in the previous video. So let's start the text now. Continue now. Flourish of trumpets, a second shout. Brutus, another general shout. I do believe that these applauses are for some new honors that are heaped on Caesar. Cassius, why man, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. Men at sometimes are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. Brutus and Caesar, what should be in that Caesar? Why should that name be sounded more than yours? Write them together. Yours is as fair a name. Sound them, it doth become the mouth as well. Weigh them, it is as heavy. Conjure with them. Brutus will start a split as soon as Caesar. Now, in the name of all the gods at one, what meat doth this our Caesar feed, that he has grown so great? While Brutus and Cassius were conversing, they hear a general shout again. People were shouting again. Brutus says that this means people are heaping more honors on Caesar. Cassius says that Caesar has become like a colossus, like a giant whose legs stretch across the two ends of Rome. See, the word, it appears as simile, but actually it's a reference. It's an allusion. It's a reference to the Colossus of Rhodes. Colossus of Rhodes was a giant statue built in 280 BC. And it was destroyed in the earthquake of 226 BC. This statue was built to commemorate the successful defense of the island of Rhodes, city of Rhodes, against an invasion. They had laid siege to the Greek island of Rome, and who had laid siege? The Demetrius I of Macedon. The city was successfully defended, and to commemorate this statue was built. One of the ancient wonders of the world, this statue stood at a height of approximately 33 meters. It was a grand statue built with bronze. It was not like that, but somehow or the other, this myth or legend grew that the legs of this statue straddled across the ends of this. The legs of the statue, it is straddled across the. It is straddled across the entrance of the harbor of Rhodes, and ships would pass underneath. Those ships who went inside the harbor would pass under its leg, and those coming out would pass under its leg. That is the count. It was not actually like that, but somehow or the other, this myth developed. It was a figment of someone's imagination, maybe in the Renaissance period or in medieval times. It had continued till very recently, but now people have understood that it was not like that. But in the medieval times, people understood it as being a statue whose legs are stretched across the two ends of the harbor of city of Rhodes, harbor of the Greek island of Rhodes. Cassius says that we people have become petty and insignificant, and those who try to look around or look up, they are put to their graves. What does this mean? That anyone who dares to question Caesar's authority are executed, or maybe silenced in some other way, maybe put behind bars, but many of them were executed also. So he said that those who try to raise any question against Caesar, they are executed. That's the kind of insignificance that they had been reduced to. They had become very insignificant. They had no status at all. The only one who had any kind of status was Caesar, whatever he wished, and this is not what Rome stood for. Okay? Cassius said that people are treated as if they were slaves, and they had no right to seek what they wanted or to question anything that they felt was wrong. That's the kind of status that they had been reduced to. Now, what Cassius says is very important. This is what it's very important in the sense that this is what convinced Brutus that it was time for him not to remain a passive spectator anymore and to do something in this present scenario. No, it convinced him that it was time for him to it was convinced him that it was time for him to do something to change the current scenario, and that means it was time to do something to bring the Senate back. It was time to that Brutus did something as an honorable Roman, that the Senate was brought to back and Senate Rome was not ruled by one single man. And what did Cassius say? Cassius said that men can make or decide their own fate. The problem is never with their stars, their fortunes, or their destiny. He says the problem is with them. He says that the people have not taken any initiative to change the way things were happening, and that is why they were suffering. Great rhetoric here by Cassius. Okay, great rhetoric by Cassius. We know his ability to communicate, his ability to use his tongue to influence people, and this is in display in ample quantity in this conversation between Brutus and Cassius. Ample quantity. You see how well Caesar speaks, how well he uses his mind to influence people at a psychological level. You need great skills. You need to have great communication, great rhetoric to first to understand and then speak accordingly. He understood what Brutus, the conflict in the mind of Brutus, he understood very well, and accordingly he started speaking so that he produces the desired effect. He produces the right effect. Cassius continues with his rhetoric. Brutus and Caesar, he says, what's so great about Caesar that his name is sounded more than Brutus? He says if the names were written on a piece of paper, both would look equally good. If they're spoken, both would sound equally pleasant to the ears. If they were weighed, they would have equal weight. Even hypothetically, even if they were to conjure up some magic, Brutus will start a spirit as well as Caesar. He says, what meat has Caesar eaten that he has grown so big? He's trying to influence Brutus as well as he could, and very successfully, very convincingly, we can say. Age, thou art shamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble blood. When went there by an age in the great flood? But it was famed with more than with one man. When could they say till now that talked of Rome, that her white walls encompassed but one man? Now is it Rome indeed, and Rome enough, when there is in it but only one man? Oh, you and I have heard our father say there was a Brutus once that would have brooked the eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king. Cassius says that people should be ashamed of themselves. It is because they have allowed Caesar to become so big, so great. That is why he's so big and so great. He says that Rome has stopped producing noblemen. Noblemen who would stand up and fight for the cause of Rome. Noblemen who would stand up and fight for the good and welfare and benefit of Rome. So he says that Rome has stopped producing noblemen. He compares the time with the time of ancient flood. He says, since the time of the ancient flood, which wiped out almost the entire humanity, was only one famous man left on earth. Now again, it is that kind of time when there is only one famous man, and that is Caesar. Cassius says there was never a time in history when Rome was ruled by one single man and not by a senate or a group of noblemen. Senate, it has existed historically. It has existed in Rome for a long time. Sometimes maybe in an advisory role, yes, but it had existed historically for a long time. Okay, this shows that there was a great anti-monarchical sentiment in Rome historically. That there was great anti-monarchical sentiment in Rome. Never had Rome liked to be ruled by one king. It had always wanted democracy, some sort of republic setup where a group of people rule, okay, so that no one has a monopoly. Caesar's, not Caesar's, Cassius's word, Cassius's word do tell us that historically also Rome had a, now also people had this sentiment. So historically also Rome had great anti-monarchical sentiments. Anti-monarchical sentiment. Rome had never liked monarchy. But now Rome was about one man. Cassius reminds that centuries earlier, also relative of Brutus, who went by the name Lucius Junius Brutus, had led a rebellion and overthrown an oppressive Roman monarch and re-established the republic. Cassius tells Brutus that his ancestors would rather let the devil reign than have someone as king of Rome. So that was the kind, he's trying to take him into history, he's trying to take Brutus into history so that he can see the way noblemen of past have thought about it. And the nobleman of current day, that is Brutus, he has to think on the same way. That is what he was trying to do. That is what he was trying to convey to Brutus. Brutus, that you do love me, I am nothing jealous. What you would work me to, I have some aim. How I have thought of this and of these times I shall recount. Hereafter for this present I would not, so with love I might entreat you be any further moved. What you have said I will consider, what you have to say I will with patience hear, and find a time both meet to hear and answer such high things. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself as a son of Rome, under these hard conditions as this time is like to lay upon us. Cassius, I am glad that my weak words have struck but thus much show of fire from Brutus. Now we see that Cassius's word did start to produce the right effect, the effect that Cassius intended to. Brutus says that he has no doubt that Cassius loved him, as such no question of any suspicion as to what he was trying to lead him onto. He knew what Cassius wanted to tell him, and he said that he would tell him later what he thought about it. It means what Cassius was trying to tell him. And he says that he would tell Cassius what he also thought about the current situation in Rome. Okay, he said that as a friend he should stop, but he should not do any more persuading. He should stop persuading them. He would think over whatever Cassius has said. Think it over. He would give it a good thought, and he would listen to anything else that Cassius might have to say. He may not have completed whatever he wanted to say, so he would think over it and allow Cassius to tell him anything more that he wanted to tell. He says that he would find a time later when both Cassius and he would meet, and they would discuss and take decisions, regarding such important and crucial issues. Brutus gives an idea of his inclination when he says that till the time they meet again, Cassius should consider him as a villager rather than as a citizen of Rome. Why? Because a true Roman citizen would not be as passive, as dormant as he has been in these circumstances. A nobleman would have acted. Until the time he acts, he should be considered a villager rather than a citizen of Rome by Cassius. Brutus again shows his true character when he suggests that he has done nothing when as compared to what a honorable man would do. So Brutus again shows his character. Brutus again shows his character. His character when he suggests that he has done nothing what a true and honorable nobleman would have done in these circumstances. So he has not been a nobleman in these circumstances. Well, Cassius was happy. Cassius says that he's glad that his weak words have been able to ignite the right passion in Brutus. And passion in Brutus means passion for Rome. See, Cassius has been successful in channelizing the the natural thought process of Brutus, which had been overshadowed by his love or friendship of Caesar, into the direction that Cassius wanted. It was his natural direction, and Cassius wanted his thought process to go in that direction, but it had become dormant. It had been overshadowed by his love for Caesar, his friendship for Caesar, his debt to Caesar, whatever. Okay, but Cassius had been able to do. So that was the effect that Cassius created. The effect of Cassius's words were complete now. Brutus had been provoked into thinking what Cassius wanted Brutus to think. The dialogue between Brutus and Cassius is about to end. More characters will come back into the play, and new characters will also come, and we'll continue with it in the next videos. That's a challenge for today. I hope you have understood the things well. If you have any doubts, you can post it in the comment section. Keep watching, keep liking, and keep subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching the video.